Now to Europe, and more rain this weekend means more flooding in parts of Central and Eastern Europe. The surging Danube River has already invaded the Hungarian capital, and the Hungarian Prime Minister says the river is expected to crest at record levels on Monday. Well, Tamas Borbely is covering the deluge. She's coming to us from a town just outside Budapest. Thanks for joining us. What's the situation there?
Good evening. We are standing in the middle of this town that you were talking about, which is 25-30 kilometers away from Budapest, and it's right next to the Danube. It's called Tahitót. We are standing right in the middle of this little town or village. This low tone, deep sound that you might hear is a pump. They're pumping out water out of, from under the bridge and under the houses. And if I turn around a bit just to see what's behind me, here is people are filling sandbags. These are for temporary dams to avoid water coming into the city. And you might see that everyone is working. These people are doing this all day long. They're doing it 3 days from now, and they're expecting the best. They try to avoid water to get into their city.
Tamas, it's an extraordinary scene. Do the authorities believe they have done everything possible before this river crests?
That could be the truth. Eventually, if you look around now for the most endangered part of this country now, you see that there's about 17,000 people working on right next to the Danube to avoid the water flush away everything eventually. Those are the army is representing itself, almost all of the endangered cities, and civilians and the emergency services. So I could say that they're pretty much doing everything. This is a collaboration, this is a cooperation of people, of emergency services, and the government forces as well.
And where you are, and in Budapest, is it business as usual while these preparations are going on?
Not really. Life seems to be slowed down a bit, and I mean, if you would try to go somewhere by car, and if it took you like 20 minutes, now it takes you like an hour, hour and a half, because it's either some of the roads are closed or partly closed. If you, for example, when we came out from Budapest to this little town here, it took us like 2 hours, although it's 25 kilometers, because half of the road was blocked.
And let me ask you about...
I had to stand around a bit.
Sorry, let me ask you about... Yes? I guess, there's no shortage of food or supplies of anything if the road system and the transport system is disrupted as it seems to be?
Not really. Food, sand, bags, medicines, everything can reach its place. Although there are some little towns or villages right next to the Danube, for example, Kisorosi, which is totally trapped into the water, but they manage to bring food in and medicine in by helicopters and by boats.
Will these people be working through the night, Tamas?
Sorry?
Will these people behind you be working through the night?
Yes, they're going to be working through tonight, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to do it tomorrow as well, up until the water gonna get back to its real size.
Okay, we'll leave it there, Tamas. Thank you very much indeed for that very insightful report there. As we can see, people working behind you ahead of the river cresting. For more on the situation, of course, a lot depends on the weather. Let's bring in Jenny Harrison from the World Weather Centre. Jenny, is there any sense that the weather is going to help or hinder these preparations?
You know, I think, unfortunately, the weather's going to hinder over the next couple of days. It's not been a bad week up until this point. That's certainly helped the situation in the Czech Republic and also in Austria. And just to mention those sandbags that Tamas was talking about, you know, in Hungary alone, 5.8 million sandbags have actually been filled to obviously try and stem the waters. Now, let me just start first of all Slovakia, because of course this is the Danube. This, of course, first of all it came through Bratislava. It did actually crest there on Thursday, so already the waters there again beginning to recede, and of course continuing to work its way downstream. So on Sunday it's expected here to crest in Storovo. As you can see the levels again very, very high, not quite record levels there, and then we get to Budapest. So of course as it goes downriver, it's day after day after day. We're going to continue to be talking about this still for the next few days. That is just as the rivers crest. So this is expected to be the picture on Monday, and of course once it does crest, hopefully it will actually start to come down. This is a beautiful picture, isn't it? Just stunning, of the actual Parliament building, but you can see the waters have encroached on that there. So new record already of 861 centimetres, expected to crest higher than that on Monday at 886. 40 of the floodgates have been closed, and the worst case scenario is that as many as 55,000 people could well be evacuated from the city. But hopefully with all the precautions that have been taken, as we were hearing there, this may not have to happen. Let's hope, of course, that it doesn't. And now let's head up towards the Elbe River, because of course we've talked about the Danube, and now to the north of there in Germany we need to talk about what is going on there. As we know, Dresden, Meissen, it has already crested there. Magdeburg as well, we saw some record levels, and this indeed was what happened in Dresden. It crested on Thursday, so again the levels beginning to come down. And then of course next week we still have to wait to see the levels exactly where it's going to reach into Boisenberg, and then Hamburg is much further to the north as well. This is the forecast, and this is what I mean about the weather really not helping. Some very heavy rain, some strong scattered thunderstorms coming through. All of this rain has to go somewhere to the south. Look at Budapest. We've got some very heavy rainstorms already coming through to the south of there. The rain has got to go somewhere. They, of course, naturally go into these rivers. There really is nowhere for this rain to flow. Eventually, it will go downstream. We've got some pretty big accumulations. The darker blue areas, you can see maybe 5, maybe even 8 centimetres. So unfortunately for Luna, we've got very widespread rain, but just little pockets could see some heavier spells. The last thing that these residents want to see, but really is, of course, just still this waiting game.
I know, and you know, I've been in that Parliament building in Budapest, stating, of course, you remember the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and it's a fascinatingly beautiful building, and it's amazing to think that water is actually entering it.
And after all these years, when you think how old these buildings are too, it's staggering, isn't it?
And that sandbags are the best defence.
Yes, I know, after all this time.
Yeah. Jenny, thank you. We wish them all luck, of course. Now to the United States, and President Barack Obama and his Chinese candidate